Hey folks, we are going to continue working on Spelljammer Art today. Give me a second here to check my signal, make sure we're up and running, and when we are, we'll get through our intro. That sounds good. We'll get through our intro here, and then we'll run for a couple hours. If you have, if you're catching this in the future after the live stream, hey guys. Then you can skip ahead like a minute or two to get past all the intro spiel stuff that we do, and we'll get into this for y'all. So for those that are not familiar with our channel already, hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing game supplements. I publish them online. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and then publish them online. That's my spiel. And I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition for the past 5 years. There is a slew of work that I've already created that's published on DMsGuild.com. It all has extensive free previews. There are a slew of links in the description down below. So if you're here for the artwork and the pixel pushing that I normally do, there's probably about 150 illustrations among the books that are just the ones that are listed down below. So you can, if you click on the full preview button on a desktop, or if you're on a mobile phone, when you dive in each individual page, there'll be an eye icon on the right-hand side of the page. You can click on that, and let's see, supplement. There we go. Update. 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 Comment. Active. Okay, cool. So if you're here for D&D and 5e stuff, or you're looking for Spelljammer content, this stuff will all be on the DMs Guild as well once it publishes. So let's rearrange my windows here real quick. I've just posted that I'm live on Twitter, so if you're still on the Twitter X platform, you can follow me on here at Phil Kearney, where I always publish when I am live, as well as have illustrations and stuff that I've created as sample pieces. Best way to support the channel, of course, is to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers. If we can do so by the end of the year, that would be amazing. But that's a major benchmark for us to hit right out of the gate. We're currently at episode 259, and we created this book cover back at episode 15, so you can jump into the Wayback Machine of the Spelljammer playlist that's here on my channel at Phil Kearney to go see the creation of this book cover. But here's the document that we're looking at so far. It's 107 pages, 55,000 words of various mechanics that fill in the gaps that answer questions, you know, like do ships drift in wild space? What happens with orbit? So what's a sensible leaving the atmosphere speed for my ship? Cover against siege weapons if you're on the deck of a ship. All sorts of stuff just packed in. First 87 pages are hard physics and game mechanics for combat, and the back 20 pages are a conversion guide for the Light of Xeraxis adventure to see how these different mechanics can be implemented into a published adventure, so that you can then pick them up and drop them into your own campaign as well. So it's kind of a read-along to help make sure that you guys can solidify and congeal what this stuff is. So once we build out an idea, we play test it. If we like how the play test is going, we build it out into these mechanics. We then send it off to an editor, who sends it back to us with smart words. We then break it into a layout program. We're using Microsoft Word, very basic but very effective. Chunk up the text into bite-sized ideas that we drop onto the page. And once all the data is distributed, we'll pick up an individual page here. We'll then drop it into Photoshop to paint directly onto the page. So here's that same page. Blurp. See? And then we extract it into Photoshop, and then we start illustrating. So we're going to continue illustrating today. We'll be here for a couple hours. I've got a timer here. I'm going to work in 20-minute blocks, so this thing will pop every 20 minutes, and when we get to 7:55 Seattle time, which is about an hour and a half or so away. We'll stop for the day, but we'll be back tonight to do more creature token art for the Eberron adventure that we'll also be publishing on DMsGuild. We're here 6 days a week, like Monday through Friday, doing Spelljammer. Let's see, and then let's see, Spelljammer on the mornings. And then in the evening, on Mondays and Thursday nights, we do cartography and creature tokens for the upcoming Eberron adventure that we are creating on, let's see, on Mondays and Thursday nights. Like tonight, we do Eberron stuff on Tuesdays. At lunchtime, we build the martial power system, which is a mana resource with non-spell magic options for martial characters to have the same quadratic decision making that full casters have. And then either on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, depending on what my schedule is, I will look at Eldraine monsters that were released on D&D Beyond recently. We translate those into the color mana system. If you aren't familiar with color mana, that shit is amazing. We have about like 150 pages worth of color mana mechanics that are linked down below, and again, that also has all of that has full previews. So you can check out all this stuff. If you think it's cool, making a purchase would certainly be appreciated. That just to help pull me away from having a day job so I can eventually do this stuff full time. And I'm looking forward to doing Kickstarters in the future. Let's go with these colors. Let's find, it's got a little bit more flair. A little more red to it. Bump that up a touch. That feels pretty good. I don't like that brush. Let's find a different brush. When I get to 500 subscribers, we are going to offer this brush set on my Patreon at no cost for anyone that is interested in having it. Let's see. What brush do I want to use? Distant Evergreen. Maybe I'm going to switch it up with that. Here. Nah, I don't think I like that brush either. Distant Evergreen. Let's use this one. This one's on its side. That'll work well. And we can thin it up a touch. So we're going to do this for a little bit. And then we're going to use the same brush to also erase at it. And then we'll just add in more layering. So we're going to be doing this for a while. Hi, how you doing? What is the good news, my dude? Be in here like that. Let's drop in a new layer like this. We'll click it a tick, stab at and erase it that a bit, and then drop in some more tree. Stipple till we die, my dudes. This is the Bob Ross way. Stipple, stipple, stipple forever. Stipple, 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 stipple everywhere. Stipple, stipple, stipple. Can't really do that well. Stipple, 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 stipple. That's pretty good. Let's create a new layer. I like Might we? We might. Text. I spy with my eyes something that are words. Yeah, we'll be like that. And go into here, and then here, and sup. Lots of happy little trees. God, yes. Endless trees. That is the way. Let's go to here. Grab some dark. Not bad. Back that down. Just gonna click on through here. Build out some stuff. Once it's how are we looking here? These two things can go together. Here. And where is our other brush? I certainly do enjoy this one. We have another brush we were using as well. Let's go find that guy. Looking for a brush. There are just so many. I need to do a cleanup. I think what I'll do is reward myself with cleaning this crap up when I'm done. My reward, yeah, for the 500 subscribers, it's I have a chance to clean up my brush drawer here to tighten up what I actually use, because there's a ton of stuff in here I just do not ever use, and I rarely go hunting for pre-made brushes. I tend to make my own. Like, it was not hard, like fan brushes and all that stuff. Barely ever use that stuff. Brush raw, no. Where are you at, buddy? Give me. Distant conifer spin. I don't think that's the one I'm looking for. Is that the one? Oh, yeah. Maybe that is the one. Hold on. Let's get back to that guy. Because it was on its side, right? Is that what we're looking? What does this button do? Nope. That's not the right solution. Let's find. Just tightening up my list here would probably help. Distant conifer. I think this might be what we're looking for. Maybe not. Hey, Karen, how you doing? Nope. Same as it ever was. Oops, wrong button. This guy's missized. Hold on, I need to fix my sizing here real quick. I botched that up. I like being able to see how long I've been live down here. It's useful. There we are, back on track, y'all. Here, and we'll take this back to 100% opacity, and reset that just a little bit in here, and then we can Stipple, erase a little bit, stipple some more, erase some more. This is the way. By stippling, we create that little texture bit there, right? Because it's just bleeding through. It's cheap, free texture. Layer. Just keep stacking in new layers on top of the other. That's how you get the forest thing to do. I started posting to the Started posting that we're live to the Reddit. The Spelljammer subreddit. So we might have some new folks start showing up and checking out what we got going on here in the not too distant future. If I just keep posting there that I'm doing stuff, it'll probably pull in some more folks to ask questions and see what's going on. I'm looking forward to it. There we go. Easy peasy. Keep bashing away at this. Tap, tap. Erase a bit to get that texture in, and then overlay, and more stipple, and then we erase it a bit to texture it up. Next layer. There we go. Basic. 1 and 2. So we do this a million times, and then we move on to the next piece. A million trees later. Alright, so decent foreground here that we can get layered in. There we go. Erase that a bit. And changing the opacity a bit here and there to mix up how these trees kind of blend in. Erase it that a bit. You got some nice little chunkity land bits here and there. 0. Dark color equals good. We'll do that. I'm gonna try to keep these silhouettes strong along the water line here as I failed to succeed at my own task. But yeah, we generally want to keep the water line, the silhouette strong so that it'll help pop out from the terrain and build these layers of separation, these little blocks of space. You can go in and mess around with individually. I see a little plot of land here, and I see a little block here. Like this would be a cool little spot to put a building because it's like really foreground. We could put a little bit of detail without not being too intense. That's what we're thinking right now. And I got this block here. So let's start working in that direction. Carve that out. Carve that out. Create these little spaces of separation in here to build inside of. And the more popular this place gets, the more difficult it is to maintain because people are going to keep chopping at the trees to build boats, right? Build new buildings. There's only so much supply here. And God, it'd be expensive to import lumber from across the void. I think I want to leave that pocket open. I like that a lot. There we go. You gotta be mindful of the border or the water line. I'm gonna smudge that stuff down into there. Build some depth. Hack away at that. Tap, 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 tap. One more. It's the abundance of trees that makes it work. It's just the goal here is to overload the senses on how many trees there really are, so that after a while your brain just accepts it. Yeah. So you don't have to break your brain. You don't have to overexert yourself in creating all these little trees. They just kind of texture themselves into space. So that's where we're at right now with these, and we now have some cool little spots opening up. The overall composition, I think, is looking stronger. I think what we're going to end up needing to do is some edging, some highlight edging with what this, with what the star is doing, to lay in, just some highlights all throughout here. But I don't want to hit those highlights. I don't want to hit the highlights on the trees until we know what we're doing with the foreground here, because what we do here is going to have more detail than anywhere else in the illustration. And the contrast that we establish to build the forms and the narrative over here is going to largely dictate how much attention we want to draw to the background here. So we got a cool little spot back here. It's just kind of tucked away. I really want to play with that. So we have a space here. Hey, thanks, Timely Timer. Let's hit some coffee real quick and contemplate our next move, shall we? Because we finished our forests, for now anyway. So right now we get to go back in here and consider our sense of scale. and the buildings that we can put into this environment in consideration of that scale, and how is the scale shifting, zooming from way back here along the ridge towards this bend to the foreground. How exactly is our transition working with that? So I think what I want to do is leave this be. Tell me about you, buddy. Literally nothing here. So this is our we'll go foreground. That's what we'll call this for over here. Now let's go grab one of our texture brushes. Where's the one we were using yesterday? I like that guy. There's the grass lashes. I want detail. I want the high detail brush. I like how that was playing. Half stroke down. Brush tuft. No. Maybe. Hold on. Okay, so let's go grab some tarmac. Let's go touch grass. That's a decent random color, I suppose. That's a good one too. Let's use the base. Let's use the darky base. Let's start stippling this stuff in. Hey, new text. What's up? Don't forget a lavender facing or two for the ground contrast. Don't forget a lavender facing or two. I don't know. I don't know what that means. Can you say that a different way? And it sounds like it's something I should be remembering and probably haven't. Tap in, tap erase. It's adding and erasing. That's how we create most of our textures here. And as we move forward, we occasionally just bump the size of the brush a tick. When you're less than 10 pixels in size, each tick is 1 pixel in diameter. And then once you get past 10, it becomes 5, and then it becomes 10, and then 25, and then 100. You're dealing with a really large brush at that point. So normally we're operating inside of the 5 to 10 space, unless we're doing detailed line work, in which case we're in the below the 10 mark. But the rules always stay the same of just gently upticking as you proceed. I love how that looks. Thanks for the update. Remember the lavender coloring underneath the red, a sheer rock cliff that exposes this. This would be common around waterways. Right. Oh yeah. Like we have down here, like running along the edge there, and the edge here. Yes. And we can get to that by just simple erasure. I think this is what you were referring to, right? Letting that rocket expose. keep that trim. Not too much tuft over the edge. So this is actually very timely. Thanks, Karen. Yet again, Sister Soldier on point. Look at that, like that. I think that's what you're referring to, right? But, oh, that's way too strong of an eraser. There you go, 10 to win. Add in, erase it out. That's how we create this fun little texture-y stuff. Very, very simple. I would say the big advantage in digital over a wet-on-wet physical canvas like Bob is that we have the ability to erase and add erasing into our techniques, which is actually necessary because these brushes aren't capable of the same degree of random stipple patterning. Like, what am I trying to say? A fan brush or a round brush that a painter in a physical canvas with physical paint is wielding is going to have infinite number of variations in the patterns that you build when you're stippling. Right, because that's all Bob does. He just stipples stuff. He stipples and he smudges. That's all he does. And so when he's stippling, he can spin the brush and change his angle and change the pressure, which causes the brush tips to the little marks he leaves to constantly change. They're never the same. Even if his actions are relatively the same, they're all going to be different. So there's infinite variation there, which is natural. We don't have that advantage because the tools that we build are static. They don't have that same dynamic feature. So to compensate for the static nature of our brushes, we use a sequencing of stipple, adding paint, and stipple to erase paint. Because between those two things, even though the patterning is similar, it's going to create enough variety that your eye won't necessarily catch immediately that it's a replicating brush stroke. It'll recognize that the content is consistent across the canvas space, which is what you want. Trees should look roughly the same if they're the same kind of tree. So like, there's an internal logic there that has to be respected. Which using the same brush reinforces that homogeny in like genetic expression of the plant, for instance. But again, the erasing of it creates the variety of changing of angles or depth or color usage. The rock cliff could have a tree root, some vines hanging down, or an individual leaning tree. Yes, it can. Absolutely agree. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how I want to play this stuff out yet, but I do know that we need to stipple in a bit more. Ground here and erase that a bit. I'm going to do this a lot less uniform than I mean the darker grain is already inconsistent and patchy across the ground, but I want to be even less consistent with the highlights that we're layering in here. So again, to trick the eye into the illusion of naturally selected terrain by these plants rooting. Yeah, my brain is still processing the depth that, or the how close to the camera this terrain is. So we're having to be careful about where I'm planning on putting structures here, because that's really gonna this foreground will either help cement and reinforce the size of the trees in the mid and background, or it's going to look wrong sized, and most likely if it's going to be the wrong size, it's going to look too large, and then that will push this rock further up in elevation from the background, because the higher elevation we're looking down here over, like if this is your elevation here, right, tilt like that, and you got these more trees back here in the background. By having larger trees like this, is going to eat up. Is going to have a lot more presence, as opposed to, like, say if they were the same size, if they were like at the same elevation, then those trees are going to have the same size. But by lifting the elevation here, you can see how it drives this hand further back into the background, even though they are technically right next to each other. Just by raising this up, it makes this one feel like it's further back. So, because the camera is elevated, so it technically is closer to the camera. So that's actually logical, but that's how elevation enforces perspective. So got to be mindful of that kind of stuff while we're in the process of building this. Artwork is just problem solving, and the problem we have right now is that there's no way for us to photograph this location, so we have to make it up ourselves. That's feeling okay. Scatter. We got a lower opacity. We're like a 20% opacity, so that's just very light paint. Let's push that to 40 so it doesn't get too muddled. I do want to muddle a little bit though. Is this where the homestead? That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. So I'm starting to level it off and fill it in so it's less rocky terrain. We were talking about on the Eberron map last week how you want to use the type of building that you create. It either has a foundation. Like a foundation requires you to dig into the ground and to build struts that will support a larger structure. But there's also just driving fence posts into the ground. And hold on real quick. Right, okay, so if you're going to build a home, you're going to basically do it one of three ways. You're either going to dig out a hole here and then fill it in, and then fill it in with reinforcements that go into the ground, and then build your structure up around it, right? Or you're just going to put in a bunch of fence posts and then have basically slats that go like that, but there's still going to be a gap underneath here. Like barns are like that. Barns and roughshod sheds. Lean-in structures. There's no real structure to reinforce it. And then you've got driving posts into the ground and then building a platform on top of it. But there's still this hollow space underneath it, but you've raised the structure off the ground so it's level, and regardless of what the ground is doing. So you can technically have water like flowing underneath this structure, and it itself is unaffected. And then you put in your posts like this, and then you do your your slatting like before. So those are basically the three ways that you can create a structure. And the first one obviously is the most permanent by digging down into sub-basements and under layers. You can put in more reinforcements as well as building down into the ground for subterranean layers. But that is going to, by digging down in, it forces you to build out and seal off that space, which requires you to level the rock. It's the most difficult to perform. Building a false floor to build your structure up on top of is most likely what we're going to see in this environment, because it's not just infinite space for us to dig holes inside of and then build structures up on top of. It's a finite ring world space where we have to be, things need to be temporary, because 10 years from now we might have to switch out these rocks to be a completely different structure. So that's the kind of stuff we have to think about. But while we're thinking, I guess we can then go in here. Start being a little fearless, right? Need to be mindful of these trees compared to these. That doesn't feel wrong. You can build a this is a nice, I feel like this is a good flat space to drop a building into. Like here, that feels pretty natural for us to do that. Put that there. Da, 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 da. Right now I'm trying to suss out the size, in case it's not obvious. If this is an 80-foot tall tree, this is essentially 100 feet. So this is 50 feet. Means that this is 5, 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, 10, 20, 30, 40. So 10 feet's like that, so that's 15 feet. So like this would be an arch. Like this would be like this. This would be a 2-story building like this. I need to find a better color to use because black and these dark greens aren't cutting it right now. Though, I mean, it would logically have a similar color patterning, but if that's 50 feet back there, it should probably be a bit bigger. So if that's 50 feet, these actually need to be a bit smaller. There. Let's go fetch a lighter color. What we got going on over here? I see you. So I'll need to have a mix of stone and wood structures, and I'll need to make sure that the wood that we're using is going to... This has all got a lot of red going on to it. I kind of like that purpleness going on. Whoa, that's super red. What up, buddy? Heavy red motif going on inside this guy, yo. I don't think that's going to stand. Let's go find... That feels decent. Let's see how that works. Not so good. That's gonna work. We're gonna build some really basic shapes for now, and then we'll be able to increase architectural diversity as we set these things into space. Let's see, center, left bank. great strength. How are we doing? 7? Oh my god. It's only 7? This is fucking awesome. I got another 50 minutes left. That's great. We can lay in all sorts of buildings in here. So we'll just BS some buildings in just to get a sense of space and population and scaling. And I'm hiding in the background right now because I want to get a good sense of, like, if I can get a good sense of scale, I can ramp into here by looking at how things are upscaling and suitably projecting foreground into it that way, if any of these words make sense. There's my center boop. We might have this done on Monday. Oops, I don't want any text there right now. That doesn't make any sense. So back in August, I was 245 pounds. Today I'm 219. So I've lost September, October, November. I've lost 25 pounds in 3 months. So that's 8 pounds a month, roughly 2 pounds a week. which is not unusual when you have restricted eating and intermittent fasting. I lost 111 pounds my first go, and then when my job shifted to work from home because of pandemic, white collar activity, they just downsized the office space, and now I'm permanently from home. And that was a culture shift because I was able to lose weight when I was going into the office in Seattle every day because I wouldn't bring any food with me. So the only food I would have is whatever I got myself at lunchtime each day. And normally that was like Chinese food, like a bowl of ramen or like stir fry veggies or something. So I had a very low cal meal that I would have, and that'd be my one meal a day. You know, I would eat as much vegetables as I can, which was typically around 600 to 1,000 calories if I was abusing myself, and then that would be it. Go home, next day come in, and then by 1 o'clock have lunch, and that deficit drove me down 110 pounds in about I want to say 8 or 9 months. And it was pretty aggressive. Like I ate once a week. Like I'd have a 600 calorie meal once a week in July. I think it was July 2020. Yeah, it was July 2020. That right before the pandemic hit, and sent everyone home. So I lost 20 some odd pounds that month. And I don't need now that I know what the process is, I don't need to be nearly as aggressive anymore and recognize the patterning of it, and to integrate off day on days, quote unquote cheat days, so that I can put myself back into a place where when I'm mostly alone, I can stay with the fasting regimen, and when I'm around people, that'll allow me to stabilize. Like once I get down to like 185, I can stabilize my weight and then have sensible eating patterns, quote unquote sensible eating patterns. Basically just have a weekly routine where around people, not around people, have food, don't have food. And by dichotomizing the my priorities like that, I should be able to stay stable at roughly, I want to say I'll be able to sit fast at 192, 193. If I get myself down to 185, I can be stable and have a weekly regimen and still be underneath 200, which is where I need to be able to wear the size 36 pants that I want. You know, it'll just take a couple months for me to get. I should be. I'm easily losing 8 pounds a month right now, so I can even as my calorie requirements reduce with my smaller size. Like it was like 2,500 calories I needed to consume at like 240. It's basically 100. It's basically 100 calories per 10 pounds. Essentially, is where you're at. So, like, if you eat 3,000 calories a day, you will eventually get up to 300 pounds. I fucked around and found out. Yeah, I feel like all of these can be just a touch smaller. So I'm going through that process right now. I'm pretty happy with that. that. Look at these cool multi-story organic platforming type stuff thing going on here. And we'll be able to better integrate as we continue moving through the piece. That's the kind of stuff that we can build. We won't have to put in a stupid amount of detail to make these things end up looking pretty cool. If I want to make these just a tick bigger, that's more than a tick, my friend. And sink it back down into the property here. It's a little tucked away. Thank you, Timer. Let's take a sip of coffee while we contemplate our next move. I mean, those are shit-shaped buildings right now. We'll integrate all this stuff properly. Right now, again, we are just trying to establish a sense of scale for how these buildings can sit inside this space together. Okay. Like we can have an entire riverfront over here. Like a waterfront district. Let's see how minimalist we can be while we construct this. What's up? Yeah. Yes, exactly. Absolutely. There's a whole lake back here, and I'm attempting to dot in some lighting here, but of course these foreground trees are going to eat up almost all of that. But we know it's back in there. But once we establish these buildings and we start dropping in When I get to proper fucking layering here, is this where I'm supposed to be? Yeah, okay, good enough for now. Like if we start establishing lights here, like lanterns and stuff set up, then when we look back here and we're seeing little dots back here like that, then it should help reflect that these lights that we're seeing in these buildings are being reflected in lights back here as well. So that's the hope. We'll see if we accomplish that or not. But that is the absolute effort, that we can create this narrative of all these little buildings, and like, since it's a ring world, that's so A is the planet and B is the ring, right? So in the planet, in this illustration, in the illustrations to the left and below, a small 800-mile planet A occupies a 1,000 mile square with rings of rock ranging from 50 feet to 5.5 miles in size. B, this is sufficient space for vegetation and communities to take root. Water caught in the gravity plane drains into the spaces between the rocks, forming a long river system and weather on both sides of the ring's gravity plane. So that's exactly the idea here, that we're able to create these communities that can literally ring the world. We were talking about that, though, like having a hostile world that everyone is setting up inside of this ring to be able to build launch stations, to be able to then go into that to go into that gaseous planet to mine whatever is in there. But yeah, this river system connects on. Everyone's going to have is going to have cargo craft anyway, but rivers is a really cheap, easy way. Assuming that the jamming ships are going to be going and engaging on the planet side, then the river system makes it easy for just like light rafts and rowboats and stuff to be able to kick around. But at the same time, I'd be able to hop a ship from here and in like literally a minute be able to drift over and land in this spot over here. So like it would only take like at 1,000, like these are 1,000 miles squares. It would literally take around like just a matter of it would take longer for you to go from the kitchen to your fighter, or for your jammer craft, or your light craft, than it would to take that craft and hop across to the other side of the ring. Like it would only take a matter of moments to do that. But once you dive into the planet itself and your visibility chops out to nothing, then you're gonna have to slow the speed of your ship to be able to match the depth of atmosphere that you can see. Like if you can't see more than 10 miles ahead of you, flying at 10,000 miles per hour is stupid, because you're gonna end up ramming into something that's gonna destroy your ship. So your visibility sets your speed, with 10,000 miles per round being the top for vessels, and then little craft have at most 1,000 miles per round, 100 miles per round. Oh, okay. So, sorry. In a craft, it would take a minute to go, like from here to here. It would take 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It'd take 3 minutes to get from here to here. So yeah, it would take longer. But in a vessel, it would only take 1, 2, 3, like each square of a vessel, like a starter moth or a wasp ship. You know, like the things that are larger than 50 feet in size. Those major helm vessels can move 1 square at 1,000 miles. You get 10 squares of movement per round, basically, if you use your steering as well as your standard action to dash. You can do 10 squares per round, or normally 5. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You could run an entire circuit around this ring in 1 round if you really, if you wanted to, or 10 minutes if you're in a fighter craft. So. And the craft can be up to 50 feet in size. So it would be, a vessel would be sensible to be able to make larger shipments around in the community. Craft for normal daily activity. And diving into the planet. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's kind of what I'm thinking. So the idea I'm having here is, let's clean this shit up before I lose track of it. Here. Like, yeah, if we build this into a dock. And if this is a 50-foot square, and we have like a wasp ship is going to be, like a damselfly is like 100 feet. So we'd be able to have a damselfly like this, and then here, stretch out basically like that. Because we've done a number of damselflies already, so we have a general idea of what those things look like. They're pretty easy to whip out at this point. But you could easily have a damselfly sitting here like that. A star moth occupies a 50-foot space, or not a star moth, a flitter ship. So a flitter would be roughly like this. I need to get rid of this before I fuck up my world too much. Yeah, that's our sense of scale here. Oh, I see what you're saying. A particularly large, like you could have a building like this. I mean, obviously this is out of proportion, but for demonstration purposes. And it cuts across the middle here, so you have the upside and the downside. Yeah, potentially. I don't think. I think we're going to. I think we'd see warehouses and more like along the rim would be more like business type stuff, like moving supply. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. You can be anywhere, but I would think that the interior, like facing interior, would be more. I don't know, man. It's. I'm trying to think like where would you have businesses, commerce, structures versus residential stuff, and this here we're looking at, if this is 1,000 miles, then this is about 300 miles worth of width that we have inside of this ring. Because you can probably fit 1, 2, 3 of those realistically inside that space. $300 miles is like the state of Missouri. That's fucking huge. No, 300 miles isn't the state of Missouri. 300 miles is, let's see, it's 60 miles per hour, 5 hours. Yeah, that is the state of Missouri. Missouri's only 300 miles across. Is that true? Now I'm curious. I grew up in Missouri, and I went to college in Missouri. I went to Mizzou. Let's see. How many miles across is Missouri? Missouri. Yeah. The state of Missouri is 300 miles across, huh? Fuck, that's crazy. So obviously we're having a perspective issue. I mean, not really. We're cheating it by having it slowly curve off screen. But even if we're curving off screen, we're still looking at... Jesus, it would stretch on like way off the page. So we're doing some radically forced perspective here. God damn. That's huge. So yeah, I think we're doing okay. I mean, this river, God, this river system could just... If that's 300 miles... And that's a 100 mile. That's a 100 mile block ish. And we're looking at like this here is what we're looking at right here. And even that is out of perspective. Like if this is supposed to be 100, if this is supposed to be 100 miles, and this would be like 50 miles, and that would be way too fucking big. So like what we're actually looking at here is more like a... Like we could have massive, massive structure going on inside of here. But none of these could be more than 10 miles in size. None of these rocks could be more than 10 miles in size. Otherwise, they'll have their own spherical gravity, and it would punch a hole through the ring and basically become a moon. So we have to, if this is a 10-mile square, Jesus, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Even that's not excellent proportions. Those are like each one of these little pips. That's like 10 miles. And what we're seeing here, if these are 50-foot squares, 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, 350. So this is like 300 feet across here. 500 feet, a mile. God, this is tiny. It's like one of these squares would zoom up to this size square here. 10 miles, and then we're looking at 10 miles, and then that's 1 mile, and then you take each one of these little squares here and you break those out. I like that ringing effect. I didn't realize that was happening. That's fucking cool. And then 1 mile breaks into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, something like that. This becomes a 500-foot segment here. $10 miles, 1 mile. Each one of these squares is 500 feet. Each one of these squares is 50 feet. And now we're down to the size of a house. So 50 feet, 500, 50 feet, 500 feet, 500 feet, down to here, down to here. 50 feet, 500 feet, 1 mile, 10 miles. 300-mile width. So that's 1, 2, 3 degrees of magnitude. So this would be seriously like it would just stretch on. I think it's going to be okay though. It's because I'm an optimist. I have no reason to think this is going to actually work out. I just know we're that curve there that saves us a lot. Like barely implies, like by the time that finishes curving around, it's going to be like way off, like way off the screen over yonder, like more than an arm length away. Should be okay. So I think I'm going to be okay continuing on with this. without the other. Trash. God, 300 miles. There's plenty of space. That's cached. Let's go to our coffee. We still got 20 minutes today. So let's keep building shit. If we have to adjust, we have to adjust. But, I mean, so far I'm really happy with this. It's still super roughshod, but we're making progress. Thank you. Last 20-minute kick. You know, we're just kind of fleshing out shapes right now. Not taking anything too seriously at the moment. I think we can afford to make that a bit bigger. Don't want to make it too big, otherwise it's going to start blowing out the tree sizes around it. So that probably means what I actually need to do is downscale everything. So let's grab that. Let's get rid of that altogether. That, and then bop, bop, bop. And then bop, bop, bop. And then free transform. There we go. Now we're starting to solve our own problems. That feels a little better. Those trees are taller now. Buildings are a little more tucked away. Obviously, they're nowhere near done, but we are just creating structures for now. That's all we gotta do. We're looking at the right-hand side. Right-hand side, left-hand side. Middle bits. Okay. Okay. Boy, we got a lot of layers going. I'm starting to figure it out. Without having to fuck around too much. There we go. That is where we want to be. Cool. Let's just keep on. Putting stuff in place. No more. There we go. It doesn't have to be, I don't have to bury this place in urbanite. Urbanite. Is urbanite a word? This is all central stuff. Left. There we go. Yeah, we can build a whole. Have a whole underside to the water. There's going to be reflections off the water, but then there's actual stuff on the other side of the water if you dive through to the other side. So that'll make for some complex layering. I'm not going to mess around with this too much. I'm just recognizing that we're going to be able to add in value like that. It's not what we're supposed to be doing right now. To be honest, I think I'm almost done with all this. Like, I've got the idea of where these structures are, and that is helping inform the size of this structure here. Is this still 50 feet? Is that still accurate? One, two, three. Do 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 do. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I tell you, man, this scaling, this 550, 500-foot scaling system we were working on is really making me rethink about how I'm portraying stuff, just environments and stuff in D&D in general. By working at a larger scale, I think really goes a long way for just getting a sense of how large things can actually be. So if these are 5-foot spaces, that means a person's about this big. Which would be huge back here, which is appropriate. I'm like a 20-foot tall person. Five feet, 10 feet. Can't be 5-foot ceilings. More like that's there, and we got a deck. So this is a 10-foot. This is a 10-foot porch. This is an 8-foot frame. This is 10 feet here. So roughly every 10 feet, you can have another floor. Here's another 10 feet. Here, there's a top deck, porch. I'm getting some serious Yellowstone vibes off of this. That Kevin Costner TV show. You got the ranch out in Montana in the middle of nowhere. This kind of reminds me of that. And here's another 10 feet. And here, that's a 40-foot. This into this, yeah, it's about 40 feet. Whew, man, that's going to punch that sense of scale up like a lot. 1, 2, 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet. So this is like a 50. Yeah, that's a 50 by 50. These things are big. So we'll have to add complexity to these things. No! You can't properly wave, you're too tiny. There we go. That's proper pathing. Up here on the second floor. Playing with my little meeple. All the outhouses can be on the absolute edge of these things, so you just poop off the side and it just drifts down to the planet. Maybe the creatures on the planet are angry that they're constantly being rained with poop. That's not going to help anyone in the interior. That's just a thing. Bad tenants. Where do we go from here, huh? We just keep building. That's what we do. Put little strut supports. What if I... Oops. What's going on? What else you got going on out here, buddy? No, and let's clear all that from my plate. That's still a giant inope. I got something hiding out up here too. Retransform. Better. Even that's still a bit too big. I can bring this down a few ticks. And skew. Help it line up in perspective. There. That puts these trees, that puts that like around a 75, yeah, like a 75 foot. I've got trees right outside my window here that are about 80 feet tall, and they're about like that. So, and they're evergreens too. So this feels right. Our groundwork is going to be like very like shrubbage and stuff like that. It's going to be basically like this. I think that's a good size. Because we're going to be able to put in enough detail here at a small enough scale that I don't have to murder myself building this. But it will inform. Oh, let's give this a spin a bit here. There, but that's going to be large enough for us to be able to start informing the environments back in here and here to get a sense of proportion to these things. And these are just basically lodges, like just very basic log cabin lodge style buildings. Very, very simple, nothing too complicated here. Those A-frames are easy to build, even with multiple stories. Like a 15-foot fighter, like a little. Like we could build a skiff like this. The person here. Pick that guy up. See, looks like a land speeder, but that's a really shoddily made 10-foot ballista off the back of this boat. But the skiffs that we make are 20 feet long, right? So this feels a little small. Let's just make it a tick bigger. There. One skiff that's 20 feet, 40 feet, and then half. That's, yeah. So this is a 20-foot skiff, and that'd be a 10-foot ballista on the back of it, and this would be a guy, and it would be able to sit in it. So our proportions are good here. Our grass, our tarmac, our loam is a little large in proportion compared to the scale of the building now, so that's a little off. But everything else feels fairly on point. So I think what I can do from here is foreground, foliage. And now we get to build proper tree. See how much time we got left. Oh, it's 7:54. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop here. And pasture land of animals would be needed. So yeah, but there's so much space. There's 300 miles. Literally, the width of. Get out of here. What we're currently portraying here. This is the length of this. My lines are fucked up. This, if all these proportions are correct, this is this. Hold on. There. That's the size of Missouri. It's a horribly shaped Missouri. But that's the size of Missouri along this strip here. Like here's Tennessee. Here's Kentucky. Here's Rhode Island. This thing is, like, Missouri has a fuck ton of farmland. Kansas. Here's your Kansas. Like, that's Kansas. You can fit America on this ring. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 here. 5, 6, 7. So 7, 14, 21, 28. Jesus, that's half. Like, if you don't count Alaska and Hawaii, this is like mainland. Like, this ring is the size of mainland United States. There's fuck ton of space. It's not being properly represented here. Like, this is such a sliver of the edge. Like, this needs to really expand out, and I don't think I can properly scale this thing and make it feel reasonable. So I might actually come in here and thin this up a little bit instead to cheat. But that's the kind of scale we're looking at. So yeah, there is the option for extensive farmland inside. Actually, what I need to do is break off that curve. If I can get rid of that curve and thin this strip here a little bit, that should make our proportions work. But when we come back tomorrow morning, we are going to come back in. We're going to build foliage here for this, and then we're going to we'll flesh out this environment here, and then we'll be able to backtrack, and then backfill the structures back here based on what language we create here. So we'll get the foliage done here and this structure built on Friday. And then we'll probably be able to get in these structures done by Monday, as well as the water line. And that might be it. That might be all we need to do. So we might be able to have this. I'll save it and get it done on Monday with you guys. But I want to build out this foreground here because I think this is going to be fun to build here. And then we'll have to dot in all the stars. So by Monday, maybe Tuesday, this will be done. So what's our month looking like here? Jesus, we're running out of month pretty quickly. So this piece will be done by Tuesday, and then we'll be working on the next piece. I won't be here on Thursday. It's a holiday, obviously. I should be here. I don't know what my Friday's looking like. I have the day off, but I don't know if I got family stuff going on Friday the 24th that I need to tend to. But assuming I have my day alone, I'll be able to get a shitload of stuff done. And then we're going to be next week. We have a spot illustration that we need to finish. So I think by Monday the 27th, we'll be done with the exploration chapter altogether. And then we'll be in the random system generator. Here, let's go here. Bojojiri, up here. Up here. Oh my god, the grind. Thank you. All right, so we already have the creature menagerie done. We have the equipment section done. We have the spellcasting section done. So we'll have the exploration section done by Monday the 27th. We've got if our zoom will resolve, the random system generator. This is going to be a bunch of planets, moons, clusters, and grids. So I don't anticipate the random system generator, even though we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 pictures to create in the 5 pages of random system that we have to generate. So I think we can do a lot of scaling grids and just planetary bodies. So we might be able to get that done in a week if I use downtime, waste screen time to get that taken care of. So that probably means by like the first week of December, will be done with our current exploration chapter and the random system generator. That'll take us into the converting the Light of Xeraxis, which doesn't need any illustrations. We already have all the maps and tokens and stuff, but we do need to work on the layouts still for that. We're almost done with the first half of the combat chapter off screen. And there's about 5 illustrations in the combat chapter that we're going to need to fill in. But once we finish that up, then the Light of Xeraxis section is the only thing that's going to remain. So we've got a decent shot of being inside of in correcting the, doing layout and map work for the Light of Xeraxis conversion guide, which is 20 pages. But we've got a decent shot of having that done by Christmas. I've got a week off between Christmas and New Year that I'll be able to grind through a lot of crap. I'm expecting by New Year to be done. I think by New Year we can be done with the actual book, like the actual illustrations for the book, and then we have to do all the hyperlinking, string up all the hyperlinks to coordinate with the table of contents and all the self-referential stuff that's inside of the document. Like there's various points inside. Let's just zoom in randomly here. We should be able to find one pretty quickly. Come on, my dude. Show me where you're at. Oh, no wonder. I'm in the wrong section. Let's get up here towards the front. There we go. We got a shitload of self-referential, that's not what I was looking for. There we go. Hyperlinks. Like here, the range listed in the detail column with the visibility table above provides the maximum speed a ship can travel per round without passing it, as determined by the space occupied by the destination. So everywhere we have this little thing that pops up, we have this little sidebar over here that's an indication of where I need to insert a hyperlink. So we'll have to, once we have all the illustrations done, before we drop the illustrations into the book, we'll hyperlink everything so that everything's coordinated, and then we can drop the illustrations into the actual document, seal it up into the PDF. So it should be done in January. We're figuring it out. Close. We're getting really, really close. So I'm thinking it'll be done by January. Maybe not January 10th like I wanted, but it should be done before February. And even if it isn't, I can't imagine it taking more than February to be done. We already have everything else done. So anyway, we're coming along here, guys. So we'll get to the end of this, and then we'll keep pressing on. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the votes of confidence. And Zona and Karen, thanks a lot, guys, for hanging out with me. Anyone that's lurking out there, hey, we'll be back in about 12 hours. I'll see you guys on the other side. Thanks a lot.